It took us a really long time to get there. Marriage and family and having our own child didn't come easy for us. Also, wanting not to only have the sole identity of mom. I can, revive my life. I can retrieve my life. Mom guilt, a guilt that is especially made for moms along the way in all the stages in this motherhood. Hi everyone, welcome to Date Right for Your Type. I'm Dr. Sandy Toe, and this one is for the moms. Right, so it took us a really long time to get there, right? To get here, or for some of you who hadn't actually become a mom yet, but for a lot of career women, it takes us a longer time than usual to get to like a different phase in life. Marriage and family and having our own child. And it didn't come easy for us, okay? Because you know how hard it is to find a partner, right? Because amidst your busy schedule and and also because of discrimination in the marriage market and intimidation from men, right? So all of these issues have led to us having an especially hard time to find a partner. And it doesn't come early in life, right? It's not like we stumbled upon someone at university and we just met someone really easily very early on in life, and we don't have to worry about that section of our life anymore, right? And that is why we really treasure the experience, and we really, really treasure and value the opportunity when it comes. If we do find someone and we can set up a family with someone and we can have children with someone, and that is like the most amazing, fabulous thing too, right? So it really adds another level to our life, right? Remember, it's not a need but a choice, but it really adds value to our life, right? So that's why a lot of us would really want to find a partner and have our own family to support us. So having said that, there's another struggle that manifests in having your own family and also wanting not to only have the sole identity of mom. Okay, so I'm not like looking down on women who are solely stay-at-home moms. Of course, that's like the most amazing project, the most difficult project you have in life. Okay, to be a stay-at-home mom, that is a full-time job in itself that doesn't get paid. Okay, so yeah, it's like a form of non-paid labor that people rarely acknowledge and are rarely appreciated for. Okay, so that's like a whole new set of problems for women. So is that they're undervalued for being moms, right? So that's like a whole occupation in itself. But, in order to not be confined to that identity, we also feel that like a really, really strong desire to do something for our own, right? So it may not necessarily be going back into paid work or re-entering the job market. It can just be like a passion pursuit. Like, I know some women who make their own jewelry, who make their own pottery, who teach languages, who learn a new language. Yeah, you may not even need to like teach those things to people, but it's like, yeah, I have a really good friend who went back to school and when her children were older, like she just wanted to go back to school and learn a new language and do what she had missed out on during all these years, bringing up the children. It is really wonderful thing to be able to pursue your passion, right? So it may not be going back to work as like earning a salary, but it can just be like a passion pursuit, like what I'm doing now, like doing a podcast for you to bring my 20 years of research into partner choices, marriage, and family into practice, right? So that's like a really practical way, I think, of making use of my knowledge to impart to you, right? So to impart to people who want it and need it and appreciate it. So it's like a whole new passion project for me, right? Aside from writing books, this is like something new that I've pursued, like just now, like really recently. And yeah, take this opportunity to thank you all for being here and to listen to me um talk about what I know. Okay, so I really hope it benefits a lot of people. Right, so yeah, back to the topic of like motherhood and mom guilt and the struggle between personal pursuits or work and family life. Right. I remember I first experienced this struggle of losing my identity before I, tried to rekindle my career. I had lost my identity like a lot of moms. When you first have a child, then I think the first thing that happens is you go to school. Your child goes to school, and the teacher would know you not for your name. Like no one would call me Sandy. Like no one knows that's my name. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but well, in Hong Kong at least, it was the very, very first time that I was not called my name. So they would say, um, who and whose mom. So everyone is just known as John's mom or Jane's mom. And the teacher would call and say, "Oh, hello, is this Jane's mommy? I'm just calling to say hi and that like to tell you that your daughter is really happy in class and she's having a great time. She's just a really cool kid. Or today she went potty by herself and something like that." So I remember the very first time I felt like the shock that of identity loss, of not being like known for being myself and being known for being a part of someone else. Yeah, so the very first time that I felt that I was not known for me, it was like when I was being called my son's mother instead of my own name. Okay, so that I think that is really a really significant part. Uh, I would say that everyone has probably experienced. It's either um being called my son's mom without using my first name or Mrs. something. Yeah, so I'm either Mrs. Lau or I'm Austin's mom. Okay, so a teacher would call the very first time I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm Austin's mom. I'm my son's mom and not myself." Okay, so that was like a huge sort of shock for me. I don't know about you if you've had this experience, but having been called me for myself my whole life, I sort of it's stripped down to being someone's mom. Okay, so that's like very in a very literal sense. Okay, so people are saying, "Oh, you lost your identity as a mom, because you don't have yourself anymore. Your everything is devoted to your family and your child, and you have lost yourself." And you know what? This is physic. This is really physically, literally losing myself in the most literal sense because I'm being called someone's mom instead of my own name. Okay, so that was interesting. I wasn't offended at all. I thought, well, okay, that's fine. I can get used to it. And amongst moms groups in like WhatsApp groups as well, um, I I have a feeling that most of the people don't know my name either. So I'm known as my son's mom. Okay, so that is really interesting, isn't it? And I myself as well. I know I when I enter a mom's name in my contact list, I would always use like in brackets say whose mom that is. Up until now, up until my son's in primary school, from kindergarten to primary school, it's been the same. For the moms that I know well, of course I know their names, their first names, and I call them by their first names, obviously, not someone's mom. But there's a bracket. There's always a bracket that says it's someone's mom. Okay, so they've acquired and we've acquired a new identity as someone else other than ourselves. Okay, so you know what? I'm not complaining about this because it is a great, great honor to have this privilege in life in the later days of life because I didn't do it really early in life. I didn't get this opportunity very early in my life, and I have struggled to get it. And wow, okay, amazing. I finally found a partner after all these years, and I have embarked on a different stage of life, and I had a child. I got pregnant, I had a child. So that's like the most beautiful thing on earth, isn't it? Like a love for a child. So yeah, it's like really wistful just thinking about it. But there's another thing is that you have lost your identity along the way, and you've experienced this thing called guilt, mom guilt, a guilt that is especially made for moms along the way in all the stages involved, okay, in this motherhood. Starting from when your child was a baby, when you first had him. So my guilt started even as early on as during my pregnancy because I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. Okay, so I have a hyperactive thyroid, Graves' disease, and it's like a chronic disease which it was triggered by pregnancy, but it's still there. So it's not been cured yet, probably because of um I don't know, my own personality, because I guess I'm prone to stress, and I always like to get into high stress situations even though I don't need to. So like I guess I pursue a lot, and I'm a Virgo, I'm a perfectionist. So I get stressed out easily, and I like to stick myself in these stressful situations anyway. Yeah, I mean, I do meditate and I do yoga, and I try to de-stress, and I try to not stress over my son's schoolwork or my son's attitude or, stuff like that. But anyhow, it's like a personality trait that I hope will be overcome when I become 60. When you get older, you become more mellow, right? Don't you? Even the most like anal perfectionist becomes mellow when they're past 60. Isn't that true? Let's hope so. Yeah, I'll tell you if that happens by then. But yeah, anyway, yeah, if anyone can relate to having like a thyroid disease, they're free to contact me because I would love to discuss it. It's something that's not really often discussed for some reason, but a lot of people have it because of stress or because of hereditary or factors or yeah, I mean life is just stressful. Okay, so it is something that is worth discussing in like the future. But anyway, so I was I so I felt guilty because I had discovered this. I was puking. Yes, I was puking, barfing so much during the pregnancy, during the first trimester, that my gynecologist asked me to go get checked up for thyroid disease. And it did happen that I got it, right? And that was a huge, huge shock for me because I'd never experienced something like that in my life. And the first thing I did was break down and cry. Okay, so I was like in the doctor's office, and I broke down and cried and sobbed. Yeah, my mom was there with me, and then I was like, not because of myself, okay? So I broke down and cried, not because I thought I was dying or I felt, that it was about me. It was all about feeling guilty that I would pass this disease to my child, and that if it would affect the pregnancy because I had to take some medication for this. Okay, so yeah, doctor had already given me the least amount that could control the condition. She had prescribed something that's really mild and like a 99.9% sure that it won't affect pregnancy. But still, taking medicine during pregnancy is like a huge taboo. Is like it really made me like depressed because I was so scared that it would affect the child. Okay, so that was my first big bout of guilt that happened. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so it was fine. He hasn't got it. Okay, so thank God he hasn't got the disease, and he was unaffected by the medication. So okay, so right, thank God about that. And so the next phase, I remember breastfeeding. Okay, breastfeeding was another huge hurdle that I felt guilty about because I'm sure I've read so much that 80% or more of the people of the mothers didn't have a smooth ride with this. Okay, so yeah, breastfeeding, I always say, is more painful than labor. Yeah, for sure, for me. I mean, breastfeeding was like a prolonged process. It took for me, I took 10 months of that. So I had breastfed for 10 months. Yeah, so I remember after the 10 months, then I went back to do some lecturing, some part-time lecturing at university. But yeah, but during the breastfeeding, I felt like such a failure, like a lot of moms do, because it's not a smooth journey. Because first of all, my son didn't latch on really well, and he didn't eat a lot. And he always fell asleep in the middle of it. And that caused a great deal of angst for everyone because first of all, you're guilty that, oh, is he eating it? If he is he drinking enough milk? Will he starve to death? Right? So there was that concern, and also because like I was really painful because if he didn't suck enough, then like I felt really bloated, and I had to pump extra hard so as not to get like an infection, right? So it was like so painful the whole process, and you had to like get up in the middle of the night at set the alarm for 3 a.m., get up and pump so that your son will have fresh milk when he wakes up. And also because you don't want yourself to swell and get an infection. Okay, so a whole load of problems there. Okay, and you know what? And during this whole entire process, there were like one or two people who told me that they had such a smooth ride, and I witnessed it myself as well. I had one friend, oh my God, so envious. Like she would just put both her daughter and her son were like expert um eaters. Okay, so they were natural born eaters. Like they were so good at that. Both of them had just latched on one side of the breast and for 10 minutes each. And then they would be finished. And then my friend would just have to maybe pump the residue for like another 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that was it. Like every session, it was like so smooth, and they would just eat and go, and they didn't even have to be bottle fed, right? So envious, right? So I don't think maybe 1 in 100 people have that chance, have that luck. Yeah, the majority of moms, they suffer. They have suffered some form of inflammation or swollen or pain or something, and or their child not eating properly. I'm sure that it was not smooth sailing for most moms, and everyone would feel so guilty that their child would not have enough to eat. Okay, not enough nutrients, right? Because breastfeeding is so the thing, and if you don't do it, then you're gonna like get castigated, right? So not giving like natural nutrients, natural immune to your son or daughter, just giving them formula is just like the easy way out, right? Well, everyone has their choices, okay? Like it's not up to us to judge other people, okay? So but all of the moms are made to feel so guilty because of their choices, right? I'm sure you could relate to that. Okay, so after this whole breastfeeding debacle, that lasted for 10 months, but it got easier. Okay. It did get easier. Like, mind you, it wasn't like hell for the whole 10 months. Okay. I would have been so depressed that I couldn't have withstood that for 10 months. So it gets better because first of all, you pump later and later. You don't need to get up at 3. You set your alarm for maybe, and then it becomes 6 a.m. because you get lesser and lesser milk as you pump not as often, or your son doesn't suck as often. And um the thing is, you could prolong the process of getting up like later and later. So you don't get swollen so easily in the middle of the night that you have to get up and pump. So you can just get up and pump at 6 or 7 a.m. So it got later and later for me, and then gradually it just died down. The milk just disappeared on its own naturally. Okay, so that's great. So no more of that, and I can, revive my life. Yeah, I can retrieve my life. Okay. So the next stage that I felt guilt was when I went back to work. So after 10 months, I was invited to go lecture again, um, and for maybe 2 days a week. Yeah, I think it was just 2 or 3 days a week, going back, and each time was for 2 hours or 3 hours. But I still, during that time, it was like very vulnerable phase, and you just felt really guilty that you've left your child with your helper. And yeah, you're wondering, you're checking the nanny cam like whenever you could, right? Or calling back to see what's going on whenever you could, because you're just worried, like naturally, right? That's what we do. Like, we're natural worriers of our kids. Okay, so that's what every mom experiences. And then you feel guilty that you're not there while you're here, right? So you feel guilty that you're working instead of being with them, or you're missing something that they did for the first time. I'm sure every mom experiences this guilt or this regret that you've missed a first of saying a word, or a first of climbing up or standing up by themselves, right? Yeah, it was a vulnerable, a very tough period. Okay, so the opposite of guilt that you're not with your child is spending all your time with them, but feeling completely alienated and completely lonely. I remember, I can so recall that I almost had wrote it down back then, that I was so depressed and lonely, that being alone with my child, that it was a very unique phase of life. There were people around me, there was like a helper, there was a doula, there was, mother-in-law, husband when he doesn't work. But breastfeeding your child, being alone with your child, putting them to sleep, or interacting with them, like alone with them during the majority of the day, was a very lonely process. That because it's like, it just feels like it's just you and them, and they don't have that interaction with you yet, like that adults have. They're gradually, they're starting to smile, at you, and to make these expressions, and it's like so wondrous, like so special. And you take a billion pictures of that and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but I just so remember that it was a very lonely process. It's just you and them. And it was very lonely, and you just wished that there was something else waiting for you. And I remember my friends told me that her husband always asked her, "Hey, why are you always looking at your phone? Why are you always watching drama on your phone or something? And she said, hey, if you were me, you spent 10 hours with your kids, you spent like all your time. It's either taking care of this one, putting that one to sleep, or cooking for that one, or looking at schoolwork for that one. And then it's like housework as well. So after that, I just want to unwind and do nothing. I just want some time of my own, right? I just want to retrieve my time for myself. And is that too much to ask? Yeah, I so identify with that because I remember when I was taking care of my baby all alone, I look constantly at my social media pages. I would look constantly at Facebook to see what other people are doing, to see what my friends are doing, right? So to live vicariously through other people. I would, it's like a glimpse into other people's lives that I'm not having, like, oh, someone's going on vacation. Oh my God, that's so lovely. And I would comment, whenever like my son's asleep, I would spend all this time like looking at people's pages and, sort of, um, yeah, living vicariously through them. So you know how desperate, yeah, it sometimes gets when you're all alone and feeling really alienated. This is the way to connect to the outside world, to connect to a community that's outside of your child. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that is why, as mothers, it's quite important for us to reclaim our identity. Like reclaim my first name. Okay. So I just don't want to just be seen as someone else's mother, but that's one identity. Someone's wife, that's another identity. Like I'm Mrs. Something, I'm someone's mom, and I'm Dr. Toe. Okay, so I'm me, my job, my profession. So it's really important to reclaim that for yourself. Even though, as I said before, it may not be a paid job, going back into paid labor to the workforce, it can just be like a passion project, like learning a language, learning a new skill, or forming a group, or just like a passion project of your own, right? So that's really important for us to reclaim our identity. And something inevitable is that we will feel guilty along the way. So there will be a lot of guilt because while we're pursuing our passion project, like while I am doing my editing or doing my writing when my son is nagging me, I'll feel like a little bit like, oh God, yeah, please let me just focus on editing this episode, or just please let me focus on writing this last chapter, this few sentences, or just let me post something and let me like turn to myself for once and something like that. And it just makes me feel a little guilty because I'm not giving him like my full attention. Okay. So, and also guilty because oh, come on. I mean, who loves to look at their son's schoolwork? Yeah, like the guilt also comes from the fact that you're not entirely devoted to putting your time and energy into helping your son with his quiz or helping them with their homework or something. You there's something that you could always do better if you're not doing something your own stuff, right? So yeah, for that, I also feel guilty because I'm not really interested in looking over his stuff. So, what I want to say is we will definitely experience mom guilt during all the stages of bringing up our child. But it's also very important for us to reclaim our own identity, reclaim our own lives for ourselves. If um that will make us happier and more fulfilled and more balanced. Yeah. So, leading a balanced life, work-life balance, is really important. And yeah, if we don't want to be like really depressed that we've lost our identity. So yeah, I'm doing something meaningful for yourself, whether or not it's like going back to work or um doing a passion project that you're just passionate about. That matters a lot for your mental well-being. And in the long run too, for your filial relations with your kid. But yeah, I mean it's probably not mentally healthy to place all of your hopes and expectations on your child alone as well, right? So yeah, it's really healthy, moms, to have your own thing going, right? And so what if we experience a little guilt along the way? Mom guilt is inevitable, and it's just a way of life that we have to deal with our whole entire lives if you choose to have a kid. Okay? If you choose to have a kid and also reclaim your life, and this struggle between work and family, work-life balance as it is, is a blessing. Yeah, so let's, harness it and try to make the best out of it, that we got the privilege to have a child and also to reclaim our own lives and our own identity, not waste our talents. So, yeah, so what if there's a little contention, there's a little struggle? As I say, it's a sweet contradiction. Yeah, it's the sweetest contradiction in life to have the privilege to worry about a child, to and also to have your own thing going and to experience this uh, guilt, right? So, yeah, let's harness it and support each other. Okay, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So, have a great day, and please go to our Instagram page if you want to discuss more. Okay, bye.